Hello, I'm Mr. Temple. I'm the administrator at Atlantic High School, but once upon a time, I was administrator at Seabreeze. And Miss Paul, who's a friend of mine, asked me to do a video version of a presentation I used to do when I was at Seabreeze about the Crucible, written by Arthur Miller. Now, it was the setting of the Crucible is the 1600s, Salem, Massachusetts, in the Massachusetts Bay Colony. Back in the times of colonial times. Now, in the book, some people get accused of being witches. Now, that might seem crazy to us, but in those days, witches were taken as a very real thing. And when the community had some bad luck, sicknesses, bad crops, people would believe that maybe they were cursed and maybe it was the work of witches. In the book, and this part was actually real life, is what really happened. People got accused and even lost their lives because they were accused of being witches. Seems crazy to us, but they took it very real then, and it was a hysteria. One person after another would get accused of being a witch, and before they knew it, multiple people had lost their lives. But the importance of the book is not just talking about witches. You need to think about what was going on during the 1950s and 60s when Arthur Miller wrote this play. At the time he wrote the play, we were in what was called the Cold War. It was a competition between the United States and Russia, or the Soviet Union. It was called a Cold War because in a hot war, you shoot at each other. This was a Cold War. Both nations were so powerful they couldn't shoot at each other because with nuclear weapons, they would have destroyed each other. So what they did instead was they were in a competition to see who could have more influence around the world, who could get more countries to be on their side. Well, what was happening in America is nobody would accuse you of being a witch in the 1960s, but they might accuse you of being a friend to the Russians or being a communist. Communism was the Russian type of government where you had very few civil rights. The government owned everything, sort of the opposite of democracy. If someone didn't like you, they could accuse you of being a communist. And since the communists were so hated and feared, people would believe that, and your whole career could be lost, especially artists. If you were a creative person, someone might accuse you of being a communist if they didn't like you or didn't like your work, and just being accused could ruin your reputation. That happened to quite a few artists in the 60s. They were blackballed or blacklisted, put on a list of suspected communists, and they lost their livelihood. So Arthur Miller wrote The Crucible to compare the time he lived in where artists were being blackballed and called communists. He compared that to the witch hunts of the 1600s when people got accused of being witches and even were killed for such crazy accusations. So look for those comparisons. The book is set in the 1600s, but the author was really talking about the 1960s, the Crucible. The other thing that Miss Paul used to have me do, I used to kind of chit-chat with the students about things I saw in high school among students. So let me talk about a couple of them real quick. One, say this after me. It's not love. Say that. What? Okay, good. You like Sally and you like Bobby, and that's all cool. Please know it's not love. You're not going to marry them. You're not going to be together forever. So please don't overdo your romance. Don't stop doing all your hobbies because all you want to do is sit around and think about him or her. That's stupid. Enjoy high school. Don't give your whole soul to Bobby or Sally. Next, you have to know that there's something special about you. I see a lot of kids do a lot of silly things because they just don't believe in how special they are. So they try to please other people. It's pretty pathetic, isn't it? Two more things. Social media, stop it. Stop being the fake kid who's so nice and sweet to Miss Paul, but you're nasty and you curse and you're so vulgar and you're in everybody's business online. You're two-faced. Stop it. And last, have some goals. Think about what you want to be when you grow up. Have something you're working for. Well, this is Mr. Temple from Atlantic, who used to be at Seabreeze. I hope this helps you in the understanding of the Crucible and just with life stuff. Have a good day.